We call this hearing of the Budget Committee to order. Ranking Member Grassley, members of the committee, our witnesses and guests, welcome. Next year, a number of provisions from the 2017 Trump tax cuts will expire. Republicans have made clear their plans to add $4.6 trillion to the deficit by extending these provisions. $4.6 trillion, according to the latest estimate by the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. $4.6 trillion to enact another budget-busting windfall for the wealthy. Democrats are fighting to reduce the deficit, fix our corrupted tax code so that big corporations and the wealthy pay a fair share in taxes, and invest in an economy that works for everyone, all while ensuring those making less than $400,000 don't see their taxes go up. That's our work window, you might call it. Today, we'll look at one option, making Wall Street pay a fair share of taxes. In 2008, Wall Street's reckless speculation caused a major economic catastrophe for America. Millions of Americans lost their jobs. More than half of American families lost at least a quarter of their assets. That economic shock piled on debt, and it haunts me as I hear the warnings about climate-related economic shocks ahead of us. From an economic fairness perspective, Wall Street riches accrue more and more to the already extremely rich. 1% of Americans now own 54%, more than half, of U.S.-owned shares in the stock market. Foreign investors own 42% of all corporate shares. Median CEO pay of companies in the S&P 500 hit a record $15.7 million. This chart shows the relative growth in worker wages, productivity, corporate profits, the pay of the top 1%, and then spiking northward CEO pay. Worker pay since 1978 has indeed grown somewhat, but economic productivity grew at 4 times the rate of workers' wage growth. The increase in productivity did not flow commensurately through in worker wages. And executive pay has grown more than 18 times faster than the productivity growth. So if you do a little math and multiply 4 times wage growth is productivity growth, and 18 times productivity growth is CEO pay growth, you get 72 times as the rate at which CEO pay growth has exceeded ordinary working wage growth. Too often, these Wall Street profits come from trickery, like stock buybacks that reward CEOs and wealthy shareholders, trickery which surged following the Trump corporate tax cut. And no surprise, real estate investors got particularly favorable Trump tax treatment. At the 11th hour, real estate investors got led into a provision Republicans had claimed was for small businesses, providing a tax break worth tens of billions for wealthy real estate moguls. Corporate taxes used to pay a fifth or more of American tax revenue. Now it's down to 6%. Many huge corporations pay 0. Billionaires pay lower tax rates than nurses and plumbers. Our tax code is corrupted and rotten, turned upside down for special interests. What can we do about it? Fix the carried interest loophole. Stop rewards for offshoring jobs. Lock in a real corporate minimum tax on foreign profits so huge corporations can't pay 0. Raise the tax on buybacks passed in the Inflation Reduction Act. Tax companies that pay their CEOs more than 50 times what they pay their average worker. Enact a minimum tax so the richest can't pay lower rates than everyone else. And what I would love to see, use decorrupting the tax code to make Medicare and Social Security sound and safe as far as the actuarial eye can see. What's clear as Congress gears up for the 2025 tax fight is that Trump and his Republican allies plan to blow up the deficit with trillions more in tax cuts for the super rich and the largest corporations. Democrats, we know, will oppose that giveaway. There's a lot of conversation to be had in that space. I will say it is not enough just to undo the damage of the Trump tax law. Our tax code wasn't fair before the Trump tax law. Instead, what we must finally do is to finally decorrupt the tax code so that the wealthy and corporations finally pay a fair share to the support of this great country. With that, I turn to my friend Senator Grassley.